There we go. All right. Welcome to the Too Much to Say podcast, episode 14.5 and episode 3 of our sports coverage. Tonight we're going to be talking about the World Cup round of 16 and quarterfinals, NBA free agency week 2, Friday Fortnite week 9. And we are live 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Hector Meow. If you get a chance, you should definitely come join us. And if you're joining us now, welcome, welcome. I want to start off the World Cup coverage by talking about something a little bit different. I meant to talk about this last week. But watching the World Cup in English in America has a couple of different benefits. One is we get a variety of broadcasters because, quite frankly, soccer isn't America's number one sport. So I wanted to do my personal power rankings for the for the nationalities of those broadcasters. I think we'll go from worst to first. The worst, I think, are the American broadcasters. I'll be honest, I haven't heard any American broadcaster I've been really impressed with on it from a soccer perspective. They come at it from it almost too clinically, like as if they're trying to be taken seriously, instead of kind of enjoying themselves during the match. Yeah, that's showing a deep passion. It's more analytical and, like I said, it's like technical. They're trying to be technical. I'm trying to be taken seriously. Whereas the other people are just soccer fans and they know what it is. It's just kind of a different mentality when it comes to sports and soccer in general. So I have soccer. American dead last. There's only three. For at least all the matches I've watched have kind of been broken into these three. Number two I have is the Mexican broadcasters, and then to be honest, these next two are like a long. There's a large gap between number two and three, at least for me. And that's the Mexican broadcasters. And my favorite. What kind of separates them for me is that the go or golazo, like just that, like how excited they get when a goal gets scored or something amazing happens. I mean, it's hard not to be excited watching the World Cup when a Mexican announcer's on there just blowing up, especially when Mexico was playing and beating Germany and that sort of thing. It was pretty exciting. Number one for me though would be the English. It's also the most frequent. You get mostly English. I'd say it's like English and maybe like an American. Um, it's usually what I found, but like just the vocabulary coming out of the English, just absolutely fantastic. I mean, just brilliant. How they just, that was brilliant. Like that was brilliant and an absolute howler. Just everything they say just gets me so excited. Um, Especially today watching England play Sweden in the quarterfinals, getting ready for the final semis, and they couldn't help but let their bias bleed over a little bit. It's been a while since England's actually had a real shot. I mean, they're in the semis, and to be honest, they've looked just excellent. I mean, the whole tournament. I'm getting ahead of myself though. All right, so that's my power rankings. I got number one. I got the English broadcasters, two Mexican broadcasters, and three American, and a pretty large gap between two and three. If you feel any different, just go ahead and tweet at me at real Sam Shannon on Twitter, and if you feel differently, let me know. If you have a favorite broadcaster, I did want to go a little further with this. I haven't been tracking their names though. Just been enjoying the coverage. It's been excellent. On to the round of 16. So over the last 10 games, so not the whole round of 16, but the round of 16 and the quarterfinals, I have been 9-1 in my predictions. So I'll go ahead and pat myself on the back a little bit there. But the score is not as accurate, but we're going some of the goal differential has been pretty accurate, but the flat scores have been a little off. But 9-1. The only one I missed was that Spain Russia game. I had that one at 4. Four, Spain scoring 4 and Russia scoring 2. It actually turned out to be a 1-1 penalty kick shoot off, which Russia ended pulling out. But I mean, Spain just looked awful, and kind of against Russia. Russia's defense looked fantastic, but I mean, they kind of experienced the same thing they experienced the whole tournament, just unable to get the ball in the net. I mean, they could get it up there, get all the chances of the world, but they just haven't had a score. It's just been disappointing. I mean, they could have won this one. They had the only goal they scored in this game was an own goal. If it hadn't been an own goal, though, it would have been a penalty. So I mean, they were going to get that goal most likely. And then the handball by Spain, absolutely a penalty. So it deserved to be a 1-1 tie. And then Spain couldn't finish. It was just ridiculous. The same reason they got to the penalties is the same reason they lost the penalties. Is because they couldn't finish, couldn't put it in the back of the net. And then here's Mexico Brazil. I actually had this one. My prediction was 2-0, and the actual was 2-0. So it was a good game though. It was a good game. I was pleasant. I wasn't surprised. It was basically exactly what I expected. Mexico played well. Choa looked great. Just Brazil was just a better team. Had better offense, able to score. They're pretty balanced, except just Brazil having that better offense and resulting in 2 games. Or sorry, 2 goals and a 2-0 victory. The next one, this one actually was pretty surprising, was Belgium versus Japan. I had Belgium. My prediction was 4-1 for Belgium, and ended up being a 3-2 game. But that really doesn't even tell the story because Belgium was held scoreless in the first half. Japan comes out in the second half and just gets 2 quick goals in 5 minutes apart. It's 2-0 Japan. I was actually at work watching this, and I told my buddy, told my buddies, I was like, hey, this game's not over. Belgium can win this one. They have the best offense in the cup, and they ended up just blowing them out 3. And over the end, they just ended up blowing up. Coming back in the second half, scoring 3 goals to win the game 3-2. It was a good game though. It was exciting, man. Props to Japan. I mean, sad to see them go out. I mean, kind of as expected going up against Belgium, but I mean, they played their hearts out and they're classy as all get out, cleaning up the locker room after the game and the fans cleaning up the stadium. I don't know. I'm like I said, I was happy to see Belgium move on. I was happy to see Japan move on, get to the quarters. Huge props. Get the round of 16. Sorry, this is round of 16. What am I saying here? This is round of 16. So was Brazil, Mexico, and so was Spain, Russia. But round of 16. It was good to see him get to the round of 16, and just classy, hard fighting players. So I was happy. The next one I had was Croatia. Next one was Croatia over Denmark. I don't have a score prediction. I'm on the record for this one, but it was I had Croatia over Denmark, which is what it turned out being. It was in penalties though. Hard fought game by Denmark. Just penalties 3-2. That's kind of going to be the story for Croatia, but in both this game and the next. But it was a good game. Croatia looked shaky though. Honestly, I mean, kind of struggled against Denmark. That kind of shows later. And we have 2 games by them. So the next one we had Sweden over Switzerland, which is I had Sweden over Switzerland. I just said I don't have a score. I kind of slacked on my predictions just here on the stream on the pod last week, but I'll do better. I mean, just giving them. I'll do better this week though. I missed a bunch. I had them all. If you don't catch them here, catch me on like I said. If I don't put a prediction on here, and I'll do predictions when you get to the NFL season and stuff like that. But and I'll obviously for the rest of the World Cup. Just for big events, I'll put predictions, and if you don't get them on here on the podcast, you can catch me again on Twitter at Real Sam Shannon, SHANNON, and you get my predictions there, and then you can hold me accountable here on the pod or on Twitter. I don't care. I mean, I'm pretty lucky now. I'm feeling good at 9-1 the last 10 games, but that's That being said, knockouts have made a lot more sense than the groups, and even the groups made sense. There was Germany getting upset was big, and Australia getting knocked out was pretty crazy. But other than that, it's been pretty chalk. Even if who we thought was going to win the group or who was going to win specific games, it was still pretty. Is what I was. A lot of the teams that came out of the group were what was expected. Like Argentina coming out of the group was expected. They didn't play great, but they still made it out. Spain winning the group. That's what everyone expected to happen. It happened in a roundabout way, but it still happened. Them losing to Russia, that, like I said, that's the one game I didn't predict. But that being said, Russia's just looked strong. Their defense has been pretty awesome. All right, the next one. Then I predicted this game to be the best of the games out of the round of 16, and that was England and Croatia. My prediction was England over Croatia. Didn't have scores on this one, but it ended up being a 1-1 draw with going to penalties, 4-3 England. It's almost a pity that it ended up being Colombia England. I think Colombia looked better than a bunch of these other teams. I think they look better than Switzerland. I think they look better than Denmark. Yeah, it's a pity that they ended up drawing England as their, because I think Colombia ended up winning their group, and they ended up getting the second place group out of Belgium, England, and Belgium, England have been two of the best teams, but could have easily have seen Colombia move on to the quarters. They just ended up playing against England, and they played them hard. But penalties went the way of England this time. First time since '96, I believe. The last time when they lost in penalties was pretty huge heartbreaker for England. But yeah, so the streak continued there. So on to the quarterfinals. So then we move on to the quarterfinals. Uruguay versus France. My prediction for this one was a 1-0 victory for France. It ended up being 2-0. And I mean, part of that is like Uruguay was even missing their best player. Well, sorry, second best player, which is Cavani. If they had Cavani, maybe it would have been a different score. Maybe it slows down France. They end up with 1-0. Maybe it ends up being 2-1. But for France to get 2 goals against Uruguay, that was huge. I'll be honest. I think France looks like the best team in the tournament from both sides. Really, I mean, we're about to find out because Belgium beat Brazil. My prediction was 3-2. It ended up being a 2-1. Could have easily have been tied. There's pretty harsh penalty denial for Brazil, so they missed out on a penalty. I think at the end of the day, really what they're kind of suffering because Neymar's been diving every single time he gets bumped. He got a pretty good stern talking to again by the ref this game, but I feel like he's definitely not gotten the benefit of the doubt because, I mean, it's kind of a boy who cried wolf sort of deal. I mean, if you flop on the ground all the time, people are going to start just not calling things for you, and that's exactly what's happened to him. I mean, heck, there was a video this week of some kids mocking Neymar, some young soccer players. I definitely recommend checking that out. But yeah, it ended up costing them. They ended up, it was a 2-1 victory, and Belgium moves on. They're going to go play France. It's going to be France-Belgium, and that's going to be one hell of a game. I believe it's on Tuesday. Yeah, I think it's Tuesday. Groups. Hold on. Yeah. I believe it's Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time will be France-Belgium. I am fucking stoked. That is going to be a hell of a game. So, be sure to catch that one. And then our other two quarterfinals, which happened today, my prediction was Croatia. So this was Russia versus Croatia. My prediction was 2-1. And Croatia over Russia ended up being 2-2, going into penalties. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, again, Russia's defense is fantastic. They look great against Croatia. And then I think his name's Cheryshev. I don't know how to really pronounce those Russian names, but Denis Cheryshev just looked that goal. Woo! It was beautiful. That was a nice one. Check that highlight out. Check that highlight out for Denis Cheryshev. Just a beautiful goal. Absolute howler. If I'm gonna, it was an absolute howler. But it was beautiful. So we had Croatia coming out against Russia. Props to Russia. I mean, if you follow my political podcast, I'm not a huge fan of Russia and their basically dictator. And so I was glad I've been politically rooting against Russia. So glad to see him go out. But that being said, from a football perspective, they look just, man, their defense is on point. They're always in formation. Just ended up. And this one actually went to extra time, and each team scored a goal in extra time, and then it went to penalties. And I don't know the guy's name. Is that had to just be a pain? The guy who just shanked it. He goes up and just whiffs the PK, and it basically ends up costing him. I mean, there were 2 missed PKs by Russia, and the first guy could have not allowed his to be stopped, but he just whiffed it, and he's going to be having nightmares about that one for a while. And hopefully he doesn't have a run-in with Mr. Putin before then. Hopefully he gets to have those nightmares. I joke. But seriously. Sweden, England. My prediction from this one was 3-2. It ended up being 2-0 England. I guess I was kind of underestimating England's defense because they looked pretty stout against Sweden. England looks just excellent. They just have so many players in so many positions that are just elevating their game. Lingard just looked awesome today. Harry Kane didn't get a goal, but he looked excellent. I'm excited for him. It's going to be England, Croatia, semifinal. I'm excited. Oh yeah, I guess I could have done predictions for France Belgium. My France Belgium prediction is 4-2 France, and then my England Croatia is 3-2 England. I think Belgium's one weakness has been their defense. So I think, and France basically has no weakness. So I do think Belgium will get a couple, but I think France is going to get a couple more. And then England versus Croatia, man, this could be easily 2-1 England-Croatia. Could be 3-2 England-Croatia. I just think that, England looks like a better team. Croatia's kind of been, struggling through. They ended up, they didn't have to play Spain, so they ended up playing, Croatia-Denmark, then Russia-Denmark, and neither of those were 2 spectacular opponents. And they just squeaked out 2 penalty wins against each one of those. So I would predict that England is going to be the stronger side, and we'll see. I'm predicting a France-England final, and that it'll be the Anglo-French War number 25 or 24, whatever it is. So a couple people across the channel. That'll be a hell of a finals, but we'll see what happens Tuesday and Wednesday. The Croatia-England game will be Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, it's exciting. This has been one hell of a World Cup, and we got 3 more games, so cherish them, because then we gotta wait 4 more years before we get this. And we still, we have UEFA and Champions League and all that. But you know, the pickings are slim when you're an American soccer fan, American football fan, or it's American soccer because yeah, American football is the NFL. But anyway, so on to let me switch it. So on to the NBA free agency. We've had it's been an interesting NBA free agency. I mean, I don't know. You would think with you get to watch teams like Golden State and San Antonio just be just stupendous in free agency. You'd think it would rub off on some of the other owners. Anyway, it doesn't. It doesn't. They apparently can't learn by example because we had some pretty interesting signings this past week, even just yesterday. So let's but first let's run through some what I've deemed the tier 1, 2, 3 sub, and I'm missing some on here. There's some other good ones, but these are some just notables. Anyway, so we had obviously LeBron with the Lakers. He's on a 3-1, so it's 3 years, and then 1 year player option for $154 million. Durant's a 1-1 player option, $62 million. Paul is on 4 years, $160. Paul George is 3 years and 1 year player option for $137. DeMarcus Cousins. Oh, this is the bomb. This is the bombshell from this week. Is that DeMarcus Cousins, without his Achilles tendon, was signed by, of course, the Golden State Warriors, because why wouldn't they need the second best center in the NBA, first being Anthony Davis, and why wouldn't they get him for $5.3 million? I mean, the real question here is whether or not he's actually going to be able to contribute. He had his Achilles tendon torn. He's probably not going to be back until January. Not that that matters to the Golden State Warriors, but still, if he comes back and he's 80%, 75% of what he was for $5.3 million, that's just insane. To get the second, like I said, the second best center in the league, it's second only to Anthony Davis. You're getting him for $5.3 million. I just don't even. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he's able to do. Maybe he does nothing. Maybe it's $5.3 million wasted and he just rehabs the whole year. It's kind of what I'm hoping, not for him, but for the league, because Golden State does not need to get better, and they could have potentially gotten a lot better here. It's silliness, just silliness. The last of our tier ones is Nikola Jokic, who inked a 5-year, $147 million deal. This is his second contract, so he got that max. Makes sense. This was expected when they said that they were going to decline his final year, pushing him into free agency. So our tier 2 start with Rudy Gay. I got my heart cup here. Got a little bit of water. Rudy Gay signed a 1-year $10 with the San Antonio Spurs. It's probably a good time to talk about San Antonio in general, because it kind of seems like they're trying to keep Kawhi. I know everyone convinced that Kawhi is leaving and it's done, but they just signed Rudy Gay to a 1-year, $10 million. Marco Bellinelli to a 2-year, $12 million deal. People are throwing some shade on that, but $6 million a year. For Marco Bellinelli, who looked like a nice piece for the 76ers. And most importantly, they let Tony Parker go. Tony Parker, as you can see under my old guys, he's going to the Charlotte Bobcats for 2 years, $10 million. And if you didn't know, Tony Parker was very critical of Kawhi Leonard and his injury, basically telling Kawhi Leonard that his injury was nothing compared to his own and that Kawhi should be back. And according to reports, that didn't sit well with Kawhi, as one would imagine, even if Kawhi was being a little bitch about the whole thing. He didn't take kindly to it, didn't want to go back to the Spurs, and now we have Tony Parker gone. After, I mean, how long? I mean, how many years? Let's look at Tony Parker. I'm trying to figure out how many years he's been in the league. Tony Parker. Here we are. Tony Parker has been man. He's in his. He'll be going into his 17th year. He's done 17, so going into his 18th year. All of those have been with the Spurs, and he's now gone. And the only thing I can think is it's because they're trying to keep Kawhi, which, I mean, makes sense. He's Kawhi's second, third best player in the NBA when healthy, and Tony's on his way out. So we'll see. See if it's enough. I mean, it's not that they have to be done; they can keep going. See who else they sign. But this was definitely a couple of moves to get them in position to keep Kawhi Leonard. All right. After that, we had Brook Lopez still sitting out there, rumored to go over. People like the Lakers are looking at him after their. I think this is the only time. Yeah, let's go. So Brook Lopez unsigned. Lakers are looking at him, but the Lakers have had one of the most what the fuck free agencies ever after signing LeBron James. You get the best player in the world, and then you surround him with Rajon Rondo at $9 million, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You didn't need to sign any of them. Out of those, I think Rajon and JaVale are both good players. But Rajon, I don't think he fits in your offense. He's a non-shooting, pass-first point guard who can defend. You have your point guard in LeBron. I mean, Rajon could run the second team. But Rajon, I mean, he essentially needs to be on a team like the Pelicans, where he just came from, where he looked excellent. I mean, if I was him, I would have told Anthony Davis, I am going to sign with whatever team you're on. I'm going to follow you around for the rest of my career, because I can just pass you the ball every single time I have it in my hands and get assists. I know everybody wants to play with LeBron, but I mean, Rajon, you were with the third or fourth best player in the NBA in Anthony Davis, and a rising star. It doesn't make sense for me. I don't think it makes sense for the Lakers or for Rajon to sign. I mean, $9 million is nice, and who knows if he couldn't maybe get a little less, but I'd take less to go sign with the Pelicans again and play with Anthony Davis and Julius Randle. I mean, that's just a perfect place for him. But I do think sometimes these NBA GMs look at things and they're like, look at those stats instead of look at that fit. Basketball is not just about, I mean, yes, it is about having the best player or best couple of players. But after that, Rajon Rondo is not one of the best players. He's not top 15, top 20. So you're kind of looking at more like fit, and he is a great player in the right fit. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's got LeBron, basketball genius. All right. We got Tyreke Evans signed with the Indiana Pacers, 1 year, $12 million. Not a fan of Tyreke Evans. I mean, they need scoring. Maybe you can give that to him. I don't like Tyreke Evans though. I haven't liked him since he played on the Kings, and he played with Jimmer, and he basically, him and the Kings just ruined Jimmer's NBA career. I'm a Jimmer. I went to BYU, and I went there while Jimmer was there, and I watched Jimmer take us all the way to, the NCAA tournament. So I'm a huge Jimmer fan, and to see him getting drafted by the Kings was extraordinarily painful, especially when they already had Tyreek. And it's just, I'm just not a fan of his game. I he's a hero ball player that isn't that good. Anyway, next we had Jabari Parker. He is. I can't really find any rumors on where he's probably going to go, but he's not signed yet. Nice young player who can't stay healthy. Um, hopefully he'll get in the right position. I'd want him on some. I mean, it's a weird position to be in because you want to be a team that kind of wants to win because he can average 20 points a game. So I like to see that why the Hawks wouldn't want him because I think they still want to lose. I mean, why else? You draft Trae Young, you want to lose. Trae Young, who in his first summer league game went 1 for 11. Oh, and then you have Jaren Jackson across from him going like 8 for 13 and just destroying kids, and then Trae Young. It's so painful. I want to root for a good NBA franchise, or I want to live in the city of a good NBA franchise. That's oh. Anyway, I'd like to see him find somewhere where he can be the man, somewhere like probably. I mean, Atlanta would be a great fit. Um, I'm surprised somebody like the Lakers spent all this money on Lance Stevenson. I would have put it into Jabari, or I would have put it, or some. I would have put it into quality instead of Lance Stevenson, Contavious Caldwell Pope, who they will have spent $30 million in the last 2 years. They gave him $12 million this year, but it was 18 last year, and they did it. It seems like they did it just because he works for or he signed with LeBron's um, sports agency, which is just an awesome reason to to sign someone. I don't know. I guess you can just view it as you're giving LeBron an extra 12 million, and he's still probably worth that. So whatever. Zach LaVine uh, was offered 4 years, 80 million by the Sacramento Kings, which offer sheet was matched by the Chicago Bulls, who he was currently with. He's a restricted free agent, so it looks like he's going to be going back, and that is a lot of money. Props to Zach LaVine for getting that money. If I was an NBA GM, you wouldn't have got it from me because that's 20 million for an athletic kind of project. I mean, he's decent, but I know he can dunk and jump and all that. I'm giving 20 million to someone who can actually change my franchise. But props to him. Wesley Matthews opted back in with the Mavs. Greg Monroe still sitting out there. Moving on to injuries, we had Derrick Rose going back to the Minnesota Timberwolves for 1 year, $2.1 million. Well, I guess he wants to play with Thibodeau, and I mean, that's really low, but he can't stay healthy. I think it's probably kind of a prove me contract. I would be curious to know if there's any incentives in it. Play X number of games, get more money. Get Assuredly, there's something about an All NBA team, but that All NBA is probably generous or too optimistic at this point for Derrick Rose. I mean, he looks decent out there. If he can get a whole season in, we'll see what happens. But there's probably some incentives and some bumps up if he performs well enough or plays long enough. Isaiah Thomas, there's nothing out there for him right now. I would imagine he's probably wanting more money than they're offering him. He's just an injury risk, and he's kind of his good name was sullied by playing with the Cavs and looking horrible, and then going to the Lakers and getting injured. It's gonna be hard for him to get something, and he should have What he should have done is basically just stop playing for the Celtics after he got hurt and not playing through the pain. I know this is kind of what I've been trying to tell Kawhi to do, is to play through the pain. Not to do, I guess, and for him to play through the pain, but don't ruin your career trying to help a team, because at the end of the day, they don't care about you. That's why the Celtics traded you for Kyrie Irving, which was a good deal for them because Kyrie Irving's a much better player than Isaiah Thomas. But it was still cold, and it's a business at the end of the day. For the old guys, we got nothing too exciting happening here. Dwayne Wade, Vince Carter, and Joe Johnson are unsigned. Dwayne Wade will probably just go back to the Miami Heat. Vince, there's no rumbles. He's got to retire soon. I think he's in his 20th year, going 21st. So Joe Johnson's unsigned, coming off the Rockets. I mean, he barely even played for them, so we'll see what he gets. Might be like a veterans minimum somewhere. I mean, he can't play defense, so at this point, he's kind of a liability. He can give you some minutes in the regular season, but if you make the playoffs, that's it. And then Dirk re-signed with the Mavericks, 1 year, $5 million. Dirk is a Maverick for life. Dirk, like one of the greatest players of all time, the greatest drafts of all time, draft picks of all time. He's been signing franchise-friendly deals, and they just drafted Luka Doncic. Having Dirk Nowitzki on your team to mentor Luka Doncic is worth far more than $5 million. So, not to mention what he's going to bring from a player perspective, because he only plays like 20 minutes a game now, but like no one can stop him still because he's a 7-foot, spot-up shooter. So, I'm big Dirk fan. I'm so glad that he got a championship. Then we had Carmelo Anthony, and it looks like we know he opted in with OKC, because who wouldn't want $27.9 million when you weren't going to get a fraction of that on the open market? But it looks like he's probably going to get released. They're going to work out some sort of buyout, and then he's going to go out, get a new team. Because the numbers I'm seeing right now is if this happens and he does get bought out, he's going to save OKC around $100 million in cap, and basically, in money, because the $27 million, but also all of the luxury tax. So that will, it's gonna happen. We'll see how much he ends up getting out of that buyout and see where he ends up going. People are saying there's a bunch of people want him. Maybe for $2 million, and he's a bench player. I mean, if he understands he'll come off the bench for $2 million, I can see that. But other than something like that, unless he spends this off season just busting his ass in the gym and shooting threes and getting the best shape of his late life, then he's not even worth $2 million. I don't know. We'll see. Some of the ugliest shots I've ever seen. He's shooting off hitting backboard in the playoffs games, and rim just sound like the shots sound like they're gonna break the rim, but we'll see. All right. Oh, and so that takes us off our free agency chart, but we got a couple of more free agents to talk about. We got our boy Dwight Howard, the 8-time All-Star that's changed teams, I think, 5 or 6 times, because apparently nobody likes him. Apparently, when he gets on a team, he's just a jerk, and nobody wants to play with him, despite him being probably he's still a top 5 NBA center. I mean, it's Anthony Davis 1, DeMarcus Cousins 2. I mean, the center position is pretty weak. And we just had, DeAndre Ayton join that, but it's a pretty weak NBA center crop, so he's probably somewhere in the top 5. Definitely not lower than the top 10. And he got 2 years, $11 million to go to the Wizards. An 8-time NBA All-Star. And how many All-NBAs does he have? He got 2 years, $11 million, and can't stay on the team. It's time to grow up, Dwight. You want to stay in the league? Do you want people to actually want to play with you? It's time. I mean, it's too late, but I mean, that's not a what. I mean, I didn't include that in my what the fuck signings because 11 millions, whatever. I mean, they're probably. We'll see if he stays there the whole time. If anything, he's a trade chip, I guess. I don't know. They just let Marcin Gortat go. They traded Marcin Gortat over to the Clippers for Austin Rivers because Marcin Gortat did not like playing with or didn't like John Wall. So I guess this is their replacement for Marcin Gortat. We'll see if John Wall and Dwight Howard like each other. I mean, if I was a better, I'd say probably not. We'll see though. It'll be a change of pace anyway. My other two that I had were Ryan Anderson going to the Memphis Grizzlies for 4 years, $37 million. Why? Why would you sign Ryan Anderson to 4 years, $37 million? I mean, I don't even really have anything to say. I just don't understand why you would sign him to a 4-year contract. The Spurs weren't sad to see it happen. They just let him go. But that's mind-boggling. The next one is even more mind-boggling for me, and that is DeAndre Jordan, 1 year, $24.1 million to the Dallas Mavericks. I get it. You want your new point guard, Luka Doncic, to have a center, and I guess you're happy that you finally got DeAndre Jordan after he left you at the altar, 2-3 years ago. But guys, $24 million for 1 year? That's insane. I think Julius Randle, what did Julius Randle end up getting? Julius Randle ended up getting 2 years, $18 million. You could have gotten Julius Randle for $9 million a year, and you got DeAndre Jordan for 24. I mean, you got him. If that was the goal. So, congrats. after swindling my Hawks for Luka Doncic, which was a great move, and being lucky as hell that you got Dirk Nowitzki. This is a horrible signing. 24 million, stupid. I mean, I know you'll have the money next year because it's a 1-year deal, but it just flat out doesn't make sense. And it makes me slightly feel better about you swindling my team. Well, kind of not, because it just shows that my team's so stupid that the Hawks are so stupid that they will get swindled by a team who's stupid. That doesn't feel good. Okay, I made myself feel worse. Never mind. I made myself feel worse. The Hawks are dumb enough to get swindled by the Dallas Mavericks, who would sign DeAndre Jordan to a 1-year, $24 million deal. That's awesome. Enough NBA for me. On to Friday Night Fortnite, which, let me bring up here we are. Friday Night Fortnite, which saw our defending champions Ninja and Hysteria fall. Let me bring up the they ended up we had I don't even know how you phrase them here, but the overall, we have new rankings, I guess. This week we saw Tfue and Cloak pull out another W that makes they have won 4 of the last 9 weeks. They didn't play together the first week, and then they lost one, and they basically lost one, won one, lost one, won one, lost one, won one, the rest of the way. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, and they honestly, I mean, well, first off, they look just ridiculous. There's not much to say. I mean, they do a great job in positioning. They get out in front of the other team, and if the other team tries to mirror them, they're always out in front of them getting the kills. I mean, it's hard to not say they're the best. They're definitely the best duo. When you win 4 out of the 5 weeks, nobody's even close. I mean, look at the graph here. I mean, we have Tfue at rank 1, 71 points. Cloak at rank 2, 67 points. Hamlin's at rank 3 at 54 points. Ninja rank 4, 49 points. Avery rank 5, 48 points. Myth rank 6, 47. Tied for 6 is King Richard at 47. Thief rank 8 at 43. Typical Gamer rank 9 at 39. And Noah J456 at rank 10 with 37 points. The next closest is Hamlin's to Tfue and Cloak at 54 points. So that's a 13-point gap between 2 and 3. That means that if Tfue and Cloak don't place at all next round and Hamlin's wins, the rankings don't change. Which Hamlin's and Myth actually took second this round. They moved up one rank. We had Hamlin's move up. He was 4th this last week. He moved up to 3rd. We have Avery, who was 3rd last week. He moved down 2 slots down to rank 5. Myth moved up from 7 to 6. Thief moved up from 9 to 8. And Noah J456 moved down 2 slots from 8 until 10. It was a spicy tournament, though. So, I mean, to be honest, they slayed out. It was, Myth and Hamlin's played against Tfue and Cloaksy in Game 60 in the semifinals. Myth and Hamlin's fell down. They played against Typical Gamer and Thief. And then they went back up to play Tfue and Cloaksy, and then they lost again. And then Tfue and Cloak beat them again. So it was it was a good tournament, though. It was Ninja. We had Ninja perform well, ended up losing to High Distortion and Nick Merckx, and some great gameplay there. High Distortion and Nick Merckx. If you have a chance, just watch Nick Merckx. It's crazy to me to see someone play as well as he does on PlayStation. I mean, to play with this game's less about, if you play, depending on your play style, you can make Fortnite be less about accuracy and more about, gameplay. So like building, positioning, and that sort of thing. So, but it's interesting to see them play that well. But they ended up, High Distortion and Nick Merckx ended up losing to Daquan and Camille's from TSM, and that and then they ended up losing to Daquan and Camille's ended up losing to Typical Gamer and Thief, who ended up losing to Myth and Hamlin's. I mean, it was basically the same way they fell out of the bracket. It was very interesting. It was interesting to see at the end where everybody was falling out of the winner's bracket down to the loser's bracket, and then they would beat their loser's bracket opponent. It seems like Fortnite might be finding some sort of balance in these where the outcomes are becoming a little more predictable. I mean, you can see that our rankings don't change that much. I mean, all things considered, we have a little bit of shuffling. Hamlin's moved above Ninja. Myth moved up a slot, and Myth and Hamlin's keep playing together. I mean, they'll keep moving up. One of the biggest things that's really changed the tournament is is the reshuffling of teams. I mean, Tifo and Cloak have stayed together since week 2. They've played 8 games together. They are essentially 4-4, or sorry, 8 tournaments together, and they're 4-4. They've won 4, lost 4, and you don't really see that with the other teams. Most teams, I mean, it's kind of one of the things that takes away from this tournament from being like a true. I mean, it's a professional tournament. There's money on the line, but from being all about competition rather than spectacle, is that the teams aren't, every week Ninja plays with, Hysteria. I think he's played 3, at least 2 tournaments with Hysteria. They won last week. I think that's his 3rd tournament in the row. I have to look it up. But he's played every tournament since tournament 2. He played with King Richard in the second week, and now King Richard plays with Aimbot Calvin every week. So, is that lack of consistency? I mean, the only 2 consistent teams really are Tifu. I mean, really successful teams are Tifu, Cloak, and then Thief and Typical Gamer. They always play together. They had 1 week. Thief is higher than Typical Gamer by 4 points because they didn't play together 1 week. So, definitely interesting. It's a good tournament. Look, and what's interesting, what I think is really cool is that we're starting to see a couple of other tournaments start up. This is the Friday Fortnite tournament, and with Keemstar, and then there's a Bevo tournament. I believe I might have actually, I'm doing the pod, so probably missed. I think there's one happening today, and then there's one on Sunday. Oh no, it's on Sunday. Excuse me, it's on Sunday. It's the Bevo. It's again a duos tournament, similar format, just a couple of different rules, and the only real difference is you can do whatever you want. In this tournament, you're not allowed to shoot somebody down. You're not allowed to block somebody. You can't buy somebody down. I mean, you can't shoot down the other team. Whereas in this Bevo tournament, you'll be allowed. Once some of these other tournaments get a little more consistent, we'll get them added to these rankings, and they might shift things around a little bit. But right now, the Keemstar tournament's been super. The rules are always the same. It's been super consistent every week for the last 9 weeks. So that's why we put together rankings for that one. And I tried to put together an ELO system, but it's just not going to work. There's not enough games, quite frankly, for each one of these players for them to actually, for an ELO system to actually work. But that's Friday Night Fortnite. That's too much to say. Too much to say is sports coverage for this week: World Cup and NBA. Oh, I did say. Oh, sorry. I do need to mention my Braves. They've been playing like shit. They finally beat Milwaukee today after losing the first 2. They got their 50th win in their 4th try. I guess Milwaukee's a good team. I'll cut them some slack. Milwaukee's a good team. So we took 1 out of 3. It's disappointing. We were kind of a murderous stretch for the Braves, and against the Cardinals, the Yankees, and the Brewers. Oh, we get to play them tomorrow. We get to play the Brewers tomorrow too. But I mean, against the Yankees and the Brewers, we went 2-4. It's pretty disappointing. Hopefully, we can get the win tomorrow. Bring us up to 3-4. That would be respectable, I guess. But all the losses we're now beneath Philadelphia in our division, because while we were losing, Philadelphia went on a 6-game winning streak. All right, I'm not going to talk about no more MLB coverage until after the All-Star break. Hopefully the Braves can rectify some things. We were flirting a little bit with the 600 season, but now it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Anyway, that's our sports coverage for the week. Please follow, like, subscribe wherever you're listening to us. We are on Twitch at twitch.tv/HectorMeow. You can see the videos there, or you can catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/2m2s, or you can catch us on Spotify. We're on Too Much to Say, or iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you can find your podcasts. If you want videos, YouTube and Twitch. If you want audio only, catch us on like I said, anywhere where you can find podcasts. If you want to catch us live, we are live for sports every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. If politics and culture are more your style, we are live Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But I appreciate you listening. And again, hit us with that follow, like, subscribe. We're trying to build a brand here, trying to make the podcast do something. So if you could do that for us, we'd sure appreciate it. But I appreciate you listening either way, and you guys have a great week. Ugh. Well, I guess we don't have anybody else on here, so it's been a good podcast. Got to start downloading stuff and getting stuff uploaded and get this thing produced. But if you're listening to me, I don't see anybody in the chat, but thanks for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. You can put me up in the chat. Um, we are going to plan on doing a, just where, no, doing like, I'm kind of every night, just kind of always do some sort of like Q&A after the pod. I mean, the plan is kind of to do that during the podcast, but it's kind of hard just due to editing and that sort of thing. So, but we'll definitely do it after the pod. So if you have questions, feel free to hit us up in the chat. If you don't, I appreciate you listening. Have a great week. Peace.